Have you heard the latest news from Kia? In fact, many electric vehicle manufacturers are struggling with serious issues on the technology. Tesla, Mercedes-Benz, as well as now Kia proves that the technology is just not there and it still needs a lot of work. Are you and I ready to take that gamble on electrification and the technology buried behind it? I don't know, but this video will summarize that. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. So let's talk about Mercedes before we get to Tesla, as well as Kia, who unfortunately is the latest recipient of problematic technology. But Mercedes-Benz, back in 22, they had problems with what we're looking at here is the EQS SUV. There's also an EQS and there's an EQE and there's a whole variety. We also have an EQB right next to it. So they're really moving into that electrification world. And as such, there's going to be some ups and downs and some hiccups. And so unfortunately, even with how great and cool a lot of these vehicles are, and clearly they are. I mean, Mercedes does some great things. Obviously, this great departure on this new style grille. You'll see this great plastic insert. Gives that away grossly, as well as on the EQB. You can tell that pretty much eliminates any need for coolant that you see in a traditional format. But it's a great vehicle, and a lot of these Mercedes vehicles also do add extra subscriptions to increase power and performance. So there's a lot of technology buried in these, and they're trying to do a lot in a short period of time to get it compliant with the rest of the industry. But Mercedes does have some issues. Specifically, we talk about the EQS here, like this. This is the 450, as well as some of the EQEs and some of the S model of electrified vehicles. There was a voluntary recall for about 7,558 vehicles, which included over 4,200 of these EQS 450s like we're looking at here in front of us, as well as the EQS 580s. Mercedes voluntarily brought forward that there was actually a dynamic stability issue with some of their electronics in these vehicles. Their slip regulation system, as well as its electronic brake force distribution system. So essentially everything that allows the vehicle to maintain some level of control, braking, handling around uneven surfaces or slippery surfaces, that is the system that impacted a lot of these vehicles. That was a big issue, and clearly some software updates later on were determined to be the issue. It was software. Initially, the vehicles were escalated in terms of, high priority, but then shortly thereafter, they deemed it software update, and they got that all sorted out. Then earlier in the year, Tesla actually had some recalls. There was about 1.1 million vehicles with some air-to-air software updates. Now, Tesla disputed the fact that there was an actual recall, but the fact was it was identified as a recall. About 1.1 million vehicles where they talked about some braking and some acceleration type of or accelerator type updates. And clearly things weren't quite set up. Why are recalls happening? Why are there air-to-air updates? Because it's an improvement, or it's an enhancement, or it's a safety adjustment. And that's what's constantly happening. There's software changes almost on a regular basis. It seems like monthly there's another little change or a tweak or an update, and you got to update your firmware, your software in your car just to be relatively safe and compliant. And then earlier this year, Tesla actually recognized there was about 100,000 2023 model year Model Ys like this, what we're looking at here. It's the smaller of the more entry-level type SUV that you're finding from Tesla, where in fact there was a big problem, a real big problem. Well, what is that? Well, you could argue that it's a safety issue. Well, what actually was inside here? Look, it is actually that steering wheel. You see this steering wheel that says Tesla on it? Yes, they said within those 100,000 vehicles, there were some known cases of steering wheels either coming off or potentially falling off. Could you imagine driving down the road and all of a sudden, whoa, steering wheel's gone. Good thing for autopilot. You better be in autopilot mode because you're hooped if you don't. So there's another issue. We also had problems with electronics and the displays. I actually had a Tesla Model 3 like this last year, and I borrowed it for the summertime because our vehicle was out of service and we had a rental. And one of those, that decentralized digital display, essentially their iPad screen that controls everything, had shut down and it wouldn't start up. Now the batteries weren't dead, but it just wouldn't start. I opened the door, closed the door, open, close, and it just wouldn't go, which clearly meant there's some kind of hiccup or glitch, or maybe it was doing an upload, I don't know. But if I had to go somewhere, I was done. So clearly it's the electronic side of the electrified world that can potentially leave us in a world of hurt. I mean, look at something like this. We talk about the infamous cell phone. How many times have you had to do a reboot on a cell phone or a laptop or a TV because something glitched out and it didn't quite work, or it kind of acted weird, so you just reboot it and then it was fine after? Well, voila, electric galore. Then there's a huge issue that just got recently resolved, affecting 1.8 million Teslas. Yeah, all including the beautiful Tesla Model S, the Model X, the Model Y, and the Model 3, as you see right here. And that all had to do with some kind of electronic glitch. Something in the inverter caused unintentional or unintended acceleration, allegedly, or potentially had the potential to do so. Nobody wants a 1,000 horsepower Tesla Model X Plaid and all of a sudden the thing decides to accelerate into the side of a wall. I'm just saying allegedly, and the potential was there. So that hit the recall notes. The NHTSA was all over that, and customers had to wait for all of that to get resolved. And then here we have the infamous Kia brand. Of course, they've had their share of issues along the way, mostly with their internal combustion engines, which takes us to the conversation about whether they should be getting involved in the electrification world. I mean, Kia has struggled a lot with obviously internal combustion engines. They've had rod knock, they've had filings and metallics within their oiling systems, creating rod bearing failures, knocks. They've had all kinds of timing chain issues, leaks, cooling, I mean, electrics, you name it. They've had their share of problems. A lot of electrics and some of it engine related problems. Now, the unfortunate part is they don't seem to be able to shed some of the problems as they move into the electrification world. Now, they were hoping, obviously, quickly usher, get behind that, put the internal combustion engine behind them, because clearly they had a lot of problems that were starting to pop up. NHTSA was holding them personally accountable for millions of vehicles and recalls because of bad engines and electrics and numerous other issues. However, here we have a Kia Niro in front of me, and obviously the electric, you pretty much tell by the front grille there, the new design language on these vehicles definitely has a unique stance to it. Now, it's not an unattractive vehicle, and there's many very happy owners of these Kia vehicles, no doubt about it. But that brings us to the next topic. And Kia was trying to evaporate all that internal combustion engine issues and move to electrification faster and sooner than later. But unfortunately, now in 2022, the EV6, that's their hot rod, and I've driven one. They're fun. They're surprisingly quick and somewhat agile. Quite attractive too, and actually punching above their weight class in terms of the design and the theme and all of what you're getting as a packaging. But unfortunately, 2022 recognized 11 owners of those vehicles that identified a popping noise under the dash, and all of a sudden power loss in the vehicle, basically shutting down. Clearly there's some electric issues, more problems, possibly hardware, possibly software tuning. Time will tell. We'll see what Kia says about this, but at the end of the day, NHTSA is going to definitely hold them accountable for getting that resolved. So it's yet another one of those thorns in the backside of many Kia owners. Now, again, that being said, there's a lot of great benefits of a lot of these electrified vehicles. Better fuel economy, great performance, they're quiet, they're peaceful, there's a lot of great things. But clearly, we're not out of the woods yet. So it does beg the question, are we too soon to go fully electric or not? You tell me. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and most importantly, check out that video right there. You're gonna love it. That's all about the main reasons why, in fact, we're not ready for electric vehicles. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.